This is the regular meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, March the 8th. Please stand for our invocation led by Pastor Alexander Johnson, Midway Missionary Baptist Church, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Eternal our wise Father in heaven, we come this morning. First of all, we come with thanksgiving in our hearts. We give you praise for this is the day that you have made, and we have come. We woke up to rejoice in it. We pray this morning, oh God, that you allow your Holy Spirit to be in the midst of these walls, in the midst of this council meeting, that you govern us with wisdom, give us the mind to comprehend. We pray, God, that you bless our leaders and this waiting delegation as they come to talk about the things of the city of Mobile. We give you praise now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Roll call. President Small.
Here.
Vice President Gregory.
Here.
Councilmember Penn.
Here.
Councilmember Carroll.
Here.
Councilmember Reynolds.
Here.
Councilmember Daves. Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Statement of rules.
And good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's good to see everyone this morning. Welcome to our March the 8th meeting. We do have rules at this particular council meeting, at all council meetings. First, I ask if anyone has any type of electronic device. At this time, I ask if you put on the off or the vibrate position. The off or the vibrate position. Any person desiring to address the council must sign in indicating the resolution, the ordinance, appeal, or public hearing agenda item before entering the meeting. When addressing the council, the speaker must state his or her name and address. Any person desiring to speak to the council on a non-agenda item must contact the city clerk office no later than 2:00 p.m. on the Thursday prior to the council meeting. The subject that he or she wishes to address must be identified and pertain to the city of Mobile business. Any person who has not given proper notice to the city clerk office and wishes to speak on a non-agenda item would not be allowed to address the council. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to address the council. A bell will indicate the sound of 2 minutes, and 1 minute remain for summarizing. The second bell indicates the time has expired. When addressing the council, there will be no personal address to any individual council members. All statements are to be made to the chair, who will recognize any council member who wishes to respond. To maintain decorum, there will be no undue applause and or public outcry allowed. I do understand that we have several citizens that have signed up to talk about the urban camping ordinance, which is the ordinance which has been held over 39-003. Just letting you know ahead of time that that particular ordinance will be tabled at this meeting. Madam Clerk.
Approval of minutes of March the 2nd.
Second. And properly moved in second in the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Communications from the mayor.
Good morning. Good to see everybody this morning. Appreciate you coming. This time I'd ask Coach Kane Womack to join me at the podium. He is the head football coach at the University of South Alabama. Coach Womack came to my attention because of hearing some things that he was saying to his team, and I thought, gosh, what I'm hearing him say, I've never heard a coach talk to a team about the things that he was bringing up. And then I noticed at one of the football games, on the side of the USA helmets, there was a skyline of the city of Mobile. And I'm thinking, I've never seen anybody trying to promote the city. That led to this proclamation and this award. And my notes read, today I'm presenting the University of South Alabama head football coach Kane Womack with an Exceptional Citizenship Medal. He has gone above and beyond in his promotion of civic engagement and responsibility with his football players. These young men who have risen to a position of influence because of their athletic ability have an opportunity to influence younger people who are looking up to them. Coach Womack understands that they too, even as young, successful athletes, they too still are in training to train those younger. Coach Womack is teaching them to use that influence in a positive way to give back to the community to make the community a better place to live for everybody. He and the entire athletic department at USA have embraced the city of Mobile and have led the effort to incorporate the support of our city in their game day atmosphere. The pride for our city, as the slogan goes, permeates the entire community. It is fitting that the students and faculty to take great pride in this city, considering the immeasurable and positive impact the university has on the present and the future of the city of Mobile. And the certificate reads, Kane Womack is hereby officially awarded the Exceptional Citizenship Award for his unparalleled efforts in instilling civic pride and responsibility in his athletes and for being a tireless and outstanding ambassador for the city of Mobile on this 8th day of March in the year of our Lord 2022 and the 320th year of the founding of the city of Mobile, proclaimed by William S. Stimson, the 108th mayor of the city of Mobile. Congratulations. In a period of approximately 8 years, I think this is maybe the seventh or eighth award that we've given over the period of time. So that shows you the significant role that we think that he's playing in these young athletes. So, Coach, have an opportunity.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. I truly am very humbled and honored by this award. However, if it's all the same to the mayor, I'm just going to tell my wife that it's Mobile's Most Attractive Man Award, so that I can have a little score some points at the house. But outside of that, I was here in 2016 and 17. I grew up. My dad was a longtime defensive coordinator all over the SEC, and so I grew up all in the South and moved here in 2016 to be Joey Jones' defensive coordinator. And my wife Melissa and I fell in love with the city of Mobile. And we truly adore this city. I know we have issues. I know we have things that we need to continue to work to improve upon. But we live in a great city with great commerce and tradition and history and culture and diversity. And we need to be able to build upon those foundations that are already established in our city. And the hard work that so many of you have put in to building Mobile and the University of South Alabama is truly a special place. And so I believe that as a head football coach at the collegiate level, that I have an opportunity to have great impact. I've always said for years that football can be the great unifier. And you look at the landscape of our country and the opportunity to mold young people to be the future leaders in our city and our community. And some of these young men that we're bringing are coming from all different walks of life, right? And they're coming from different communities. But to build them up in the city of Mobile at the University of South Alabama under our football program to be the next future leaders that hopefully will be sitting in this room one day and impacting our community on a dynamic level is something that I don't take lightly and something that I hold dear. I'll give you one example. Nick Mobley is a young man that I actually recruited here back in 2016. Nick went on to become an all-conference Mike linebacker for us in the Sun Belt. And as much as he enjoyed tackling and hitting and doing all those things on a football field, he also cared deeply about his engineering degree. And Nick just finished up his engineering degree this past semester, and unfortunately his senior year was cut short to a season-ending injury. And so I was able to make those connections with Ralph Hargrove, with Hargrove Engineering. He then got an internship and impressed those guys so much that Mr. Hargrove offered him a full-time position that he just started a few weeks ago right here in Mobile. And those are the stories, right, for a young man from Alabaster, Alabama, to now be a part of our community moving forward for years to come, and the impact he will have on his city is something that I think that we can look to, we can point towards, and now cast vision for the young men that will come in our program for years to come. So thank you so much for this award, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate being a part of the city of Mobile. Thank you.
Mr. President. Yeah, Coach, before you leave, as a proud JAG alumni, I just want to say, you show us, again, we've seen leadership on display this last couple of weeks, and we just saw another one walk down here. Thank you for what you do for not just that football program, but for that university and this city. It's definitely a credit to that organization and to the city. Thank you.
So, Mr. President, I'll continue on. I have a few announcements. Today at 1:30, we'll be gathering at the Convention Center for a major update on the Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Famers, the statuary that we're having built, and where we stand in that. Hank Aaron's wife, Billy Aaron, will be joining us, as will some other dignitaries. And so if I leave a little bit early, depending on how long the meeting lasts, it's because I'm going to tee up for that. This book is called Here's to You, Jackie Robinson. It was published in 2005, and it's about baseball in Mobile, and specifically about the Pritchard Mohawks. I don't know how many of you may be familiar with the Pritchard Mohawks, but I want to read, I'm quoting from the book, a passage or two to give you an idea of how we got to where we are today, where we have 5 Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Famers. And it reads, the year is 2004. Mobile City Councilman Fred Richardson stands before a crowd in the brand new Trinity Gardens Recreation Center. Assembled were the Pritchard Mohawks, reunited 50 years after their founding. They were there to talk about how to carry on the legacy of Mr. Jesse Norwood, their manager and third base coach, and the Mohawks. Among them was Ellis May, also known as Candyman, a Mobile City maintenance worker. Ellis said, "This is how it all started," pushing a bottle cap across the table. It says Coke in loopy red script letters. It's an old cap, the kind that used to be lined with cork, though it's dried up, shriveled, and all but chipped away from the underside of this cap. They played cork ball on the Bull's Head Avenue every spring evening after school. Cork ball, so named because of the cork bottle cap, was the local version of stick ball, the street form of baseball being played all across the eastern United States as well as Mobile County. There were no teams in the Bull's Head version of stick ball. There was the pitcher, the batter, and everyone else. 12 to 15 scrawny black boys still in their school pants, patched, repatched, ripping knee tears, smudging the knees and backsides on the red clay of their street. They were otherwise stripped down to the white sleeveless undershirts and bare feet. The pitcher sidearmed a soda bottle cap, a Coca-Cola cap. It dipped and juked, fluttered like the best of knuckleballs. The batter held a lopped-off broomstick at the ready, high off the back of his shoulder, wrist loosed and poised. Then he swung, a bat no bigger than the circumference of a quarter. If he hit it through the air only, he could run forward to one base. If he made it back home after being tagged, he scored a run. Why were these kids playing corkball in Bull's Head, Trinity Gardens, Hillsdale Heights, and other neighborhoods all across Mobile? If you join us today at 1:30, we'll tell you the rest of the story and what it's meant to this community and to the history of baseball. My last remark has to do with the Carnival Cruise Line. We were very excited to be able to entertain the president of Carnival, Christine Duffy. She came to tell us that, yes, the ship that we have currently will be leaving this October, and exactly 1 year later, we'll have another ship, the Spirit, will be coming to Mobile. The schedule will be different. Instead of 4 and 5 day cruises, this will be a 6 or 7 day cruise, but it'll give them an opportunity to go to different ports in Eastern and Western Caribbean. It's an upscale ship. We're very excited about it. One thing that we were not really expecting was that it would be a seasonal ship, meaning that it will be here for 6 months, and when it leaves here, it will go to Alaska for 6 months and then come back. So we're really excited about getting a newer, slightly larger ship, and they will be coming in beginning October 6th of 2023. And that concludes my remarks, but I think that Executive Director Jim DeLapp has some Public Works awards for employees of the months that he would like to give.
Good morning. I'd like to recognize the 3 employees of the month from Public Works. We're going to start with our Parks and Recreation Employee of the Month. And I've got both Dan Otto and Alan Reed to speak about Darren Packer.
Good morning. I'm Alan Reed with the Mobile Parks Department. Mr. Darren Packer joined my crew in 2008. His trustworthiness, dependability, and just overall honor has been a great benefit to my crew. And Darren, you and want to congratulate you on your day. Enjoy your day.
I just want to say good morning, everyone, and I want to thank the City Council for giving this opportunity to be recognized, and thank the city employee group for nominating me for the position. And I want to thank the Executive Director and Dan for nominating me to be employee.
Next, I'd like to have Jeff Dees come down and speak about our Public Services Employee of the Month, Mr. Michael Beach.
Morning, everyone. I'd like to introduce Michael Beach. He's an Equipment Operator 3 in the Sanitation Department. He's been with the city for 31 years. He started off as an unskilled laborer, has worked his way up to the Operator 3 position. Mike also assists on helping training other employees to move up and to be operators also. He advocates for the employees on different issues that the employees have. A couple of years back, Mike was went and picked up a truck from a repair shop, coming down the road, and the truck started smoking. So he noticed the truck was smoking. It was a fire in the back of the truck. So Mike safely pulled over to a parking lot. He was able to empty out the truck and to put the fire out safely without causing the loss of a fairly new truck. So it's Michael Beach, employee of the month, sanitation.
Mr. President.
Yes, Ms. Carroll.
Good morning, everyone. Some of you I know, and some of you I don't. Congratulations on your new position. I've been, like Jeff said, I've been with the city 31 years, actually 33 years. I started in December of 1990. But I'd like to thank Jeff and Mr. DeLapp now for the equipment we're getting. And I look forward to training some new young men and women because the system's getting updated and more modernized. And I just would like to make this city grow. And with y'all's help and Mr. DeLapp and Mr. Peavy and Mr. Jeff, I think we can get it done. So thank y'all for this award. I'm very humble.
Mike, I hope to retire, doesn't you know? See, I know this guy. That's my man.
Right.
He comes real early in the morning, like at 4:30. And it's been one time that I kind of forgot, and I heard my wife say, did you put the garbage out? And I looked outside, and it wasn't there. Mike had already left, and I'm running down the street after him about 4:30, 4:45 in the morning. It's about, 28 degrees outside that morning? Mike! So, Mike, I really appreciate what you do for our neighborhood and the countless times that people forget to put their garbage out, where we can just reach out to you by driving around the corner and getting you to come back. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll second that by saying that, over 30 years driving one of our sanitation trucks, and he is, one of our master drivers and really someone to look up to in that organization, so well deserved. And now we've got our final Public Works at Large employee, and I think I'll have Cliff Thomas and Cassie Boatwright are going to come speak about Miss Myra Jackson.
Good morning. Mr. Beach may be your man, but this lady right here, this is our woman, okay? She really, really is. Miss Myra Jackson has been with the city of Mobile since 1980. So 42 years Miss Myra has been serving in the maintenance department. She started out as a clerk typist 2, moved up to office assistant 1, 2, and is now our office assistant 3. And she has very important responsibilities, and one of those is to ensure all the men and women that are making sure that the buildings are maintained, the AC's on, the lights are on, she makes sure that they're paid. So we are very, very appreciative of her for that. And for the last 30 years, she has been working right beside this man to keep him straight. So that's an even more challenge. So Cliff, you want to say anything?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Cliff Thomas, mechanical maintenance supervisor for facility maintenance. And like I said, Myra's trained me. Everything I know has come from her. She's a very dedicated city employee, a very dedicated friend, and just easy to talk to, but Myra pretty much carries the load of our department. Like Cassie said, that every bit of what we do at facility maintenance, Myra has a hand in, and she's an excellent employee. And if it was me, I'd give her the MVP award, the most valuable person and the player of facility maintenance, and I appreciate everything that she stands for.
Good morning to Mayor Stinson and the City Council, also to my Executive Director, Mr. DeLab, Deputy Director, Ms. Shonda Smith, and to my Senior Director, Ms. Cassie Boatwright. I just want to say thank you so much for this honor. Not much on words, but I've been here 42 years. I've seen the good and bad of the city, more good than bad. Otherwise, I would not be standing up here today. I'd like to thank God for my allowing to be here that long. And over the years, I've had wonderful supervisors, co-workers, and I just can't say enough that I have enjoyed my time here. I don't know how much longer I'll be here, but I'll give you what I gave from day one, 100%, and then some. Thank you so much. I have family and friends, if you would please stand here, my daughter, my husband, my sister-in-law, family, friends, and I just thank you so much for coming out supporting this. And I thank the city for having implemented this program for city employees. We are worth it. We feel like we're worth it. So thank you so much, and I will forever cherish this moment. Thank you.
I'd like to say that Ms. Jackson is a resident of District 3, and her husband is a former employee of the city of Mobile. He retired. Okay.
Is Shafiza Bain present with Carnival Cruise Line? Okay. Adoption of the agenda?
So move.
Second. Been properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda's adopted.
Appeals, we have request for waiver of the noise ordinance on March the 26th, and this is on Spring Hill Avenue, and March 11th and 12th on Dolphin Street.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Appeals passed.
Appeal of the Planning Commission's approval for PUD to allow multiple buildings on a single building site at 1867 Pritchard Avenue West and 100 to 110 Joel Court.
Is the appellants present who brought this? Yes, ma'am. You come down.
My name is Gwendolyn Strata Smith. I live at 2613 St. Stephen's Road. I'm asking for appeal of the Planning Commission's approval of the planned unit development at 1867 Pritchard Avenue. This appeal would allow time for Councilman Penn, current residents, and the developer to collaborate, to have our concerns heard and efforts made to protect and mitigate the adverse effects to our adjacent properties. Reasonable accommodations were not made to address the concerns of the residents regarding the placing of buildings that disrupt residential character of the neighborhood. No consideration was given to the request for flexibility in the location and arrangement of two-story buildings. This PUD is not generally compatible with the character of the neighborhood. We ask that the two-story buildings abutting 10 single-family homes be moved to the front, where there are only 2 single-family homes on Pritchard Avenue. This would address concerns about density, privacy, lighting, visual encroachment, and noise. This development as designed includes 38 1- to 4-bedroom units housing a minimum of 180 people on 3.3 acres, when the MXDR guide allows only 33 units. We are concerned that there are no amenities such as playground or recreation areas for the children. The open space in the design could be used for playground and recreational needs as a public service for young people and families, as these are lacking in the area because of proximity to schools and public parks. Making the development a gated community would address safety and traffic concerns. This development lacks environmental factors such as setbacks, vegetation barriers, and screenings to protect adjacent property. Planning Commission members expressed concern that there were unanswered questions regarding density, market rate, subsidized rent, and projected cost. The approved design of this PUD would not provide protection of adjacent properties from the adverse effects of the development. However, through collaboration, Mrs. Isaacs' development can be one that would be a true model for community building and enhancement that inspires and improves the quality of life for all residents, and especially the children far into the community. We are saying, let's do this together. Please send this back to the Planning Commission to give us an opportunity to be heard and to improve our community by working together.
Just before you leave, Ms. Smith, I'm going to ask our attorney to explain to the appeal and also the ordinance exactly what's in front of the council right now.
Yes, sir. So there's generally two different kinds of appeals that can come to y'all. One is an appeal de novo, where you consider the facts of the whole situation again, like on a zoning, a rezoning would be an example of that, where basically you're trying the case over again. The other kind of appeal is where you're determining whether the rules were followed, and that's really, it's not so much into the facts of what the Planning Commission had decided. So you're an appeal court in this case, and you're under the zoning ordinance, you're required to determine, did the Planning Commission act arbitrarily and capriciously in denying or approving whatever the proposal may be. And that, according to a Supreme Court case, the Alabama Supreme Court, is the arbitrary and capricious standards a high burden to overcome, in that the decision would need to be clearly arbitrary and unreasonable and having no substantial relation to public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. That was the 1985 Nugent versus Planning Commission case. So in other words, do they have no valid basis for what the decision was rendered? The other thing you need to determine was, did the planning commission follow its own ordinances and rules and comply with applicable law? And is there substantial evidence in the record to support the planning commission's decision? So y'all can, after considering the matter, you can either grant the appeal and overrule the planning commission, or deny the appeal and uphold the planning commission. In either case, whatever decision you make, the aggrieved party would then have to appeal that further if they wanted to the circuit court.
Ms. Smith, you understand exactly why?
Yes, we understood that it's based on the decision being arbitrary or capricious. And of course, that means that something we were not heard.
Okay, then. And do you believe that the planning commission fell into one of those?
Yes, sir. We believe that we were not heard.
Believe that you were not heard. Okay. Did you have an opportunity to speak at the planning commission? Did you speak?
Yes.
You did speak at the planning commission.
And we have a petition. You have received a petition with 93 signatures opposing this.
Anything else from the council?
I think we have somebody else.
No, just from the council to Ms. Smith.
Oh, Ms. Smith.
Okay. Mr. Scott Jones? Can't hear you.
I'd recommend we hold our discussion for the item when we get to it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I want to thank the mayor and the council for the opportunity to speak on this matter, on the Joel Court matter. I reside directly next door to the proposed project. I'm sorry. Esther Beasley, 1907 West Pritchard Avenue. I'm directly next door to the proposed project. I think that it'll be an asset to the community. And I just want to say that I fully support the project going forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else present? Please state your name and your address.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nikki Isaac, and I am the CEO and owner of Nikki's Investment Group, and I am the one that actually purchased 1867 Pritchard Avenue to actually build the apartment complex there. I bought a multifamily unit location, 3.3 acres. I followed all the guidelines for the multifamily unit. This project was approved in 2015. It was approved in 2020. It's the same project. I didn't change anything. And so therefore, I mean, I think I followed all the guidelines and everything that I needed to do for my actual project.
Any questions for us? Mr. Carroll?
It appears, though, some of the neighbors and residents aren't exactly happy with the layout of the development. Are you willing to work with the neighbors and the residents to accommodate your layout?
I did, and I addressed it. I addressed it at the actual meeting that we had, and I agreed to put up a 10-foot brick wall that I added into the plans to address that issue.
Was that part of the planning commission's submission?
Yes.
It was. I don't know how to ask questions back and forth since we set one person down and brought another one to the podium. But my question is about the two-story properties and one-stories. Has that issue been resolved? So they're shaking their heads no, saying that there's not been any communications between the developer and the surrounding neighbors. When
They actually written it into the actual appeal when we actually went before the planning committee. They actually written it in.
That's one of the conditions of the
That was the
development.
condition.
So the corrections of the property surrounding it with the two stories versus one story was written into the decision by the planning
with the fence. Yes.
With fence, but the people are talking about the actual structures, not the fence. The structures are higher than 10 foot, which allow people to look over into their property.
They were talking about the structure, and that's why I added the actual fence.
But is the fence taller than the structure? Does it prevent the view into the backyard?
No.
Okay. So I mean, I think that's what they're concerned about. I heard in her presentation about density of units and saying that the density of units is higher than what's allowed for by code and by law. Was that considered by the Planning Commission at the same time that you made your presentation, or did they even look? Did you guys look into the density based on? Okay. So,
Mr. President.
Well, I'm not finished
hold on,
yet.
Mr. Jones.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just saying this
Hold on,
passes.
Mr. Jones. Hold on, Kara, finish.
So, I mean, it seems though it's some type of impasse somewhere between the development and the neighbors. So my question to you is that, again, is there any way as the developer that you can find some common ground to make this go forward where everybody's happy? I don't think anybody wants to prevent you from doing any type of development in the neighborhood. I'm just hoping.
I did when I chose to add the fence.
See, these things that they're asking for are not cheap. I mean, you could say once you build something, you have plans planned out and things like that. You know, you can't just go back and say, okay, because they want to move this over here. It costs to do these things. Like the wall that was.
And then I had driven engineer there also, and we looked. It can't be done for what they were speaking of doing, and so that's why I agreed to add the fence to it. And that probably will cost me another $200,000-$300,000 for my project on top of what I already have going on. So I understood and I heard, but I mean, within anything, that was a multi-family purpose lot. I bought it for that purpose. In 2015, it was approved. Same lot, same plans. 2020, it was approved. Same thing. I didn't even go in and make any changes.
Yeah, I'll wait a few minutes. That's what everybody's got.
Yeah, as a member of the Planning Commission, what I can say is that the Planning Commission hearing on this property was delayed. I believe it was for 2 weeks, so that Councilman Penn could have a community meeting on this property, which he did. At the conclusion of that, the recommendation was to support this PUD that came before the Planning Commission. There was another hearing at that Planning Commission meeting where speakers were allowed to address the Planning Commission on both sides. It was voted on and approved, and I would have to ask Ms. Pappas what the vote was on that. I think we can get the record for that. Some of the reasons that it was voted on specifically, number one, it's not changing the zoning. There was already a multifamily residence on this property that was demolished years ago, I believe. So it's putting a multifamily property back on. The other reason is we talk week after week over the need for affordable housing in this city, and this is doing that in one of the districts that needs it the most. And it was also, the Planning Commission was impressed that the developer was actually local and part of the community, and they felt that that was a positive and that she was working with the community to try and get to the best solution. With that said, again, I would go back to Mr. Arledge's point that what we're discussing today is, did the Planning Commission stay in line with their rules, regulations, and laws, and not to the specific criteria of what is in the PUD.
I ask at this time, if anyone has any type of electronic device to put on the off or the vibrate position, Are you done, Mr. Jones? Ms. Gregory?
A quick question. You had mentioned that your plan was approved in 2015 and in 2020. What happened in 15 and 20?
I actually purchased it from the developer that already had bought everything. I bought the plans, I bought everything, and I went with the same thing. And he had it approved in 2015. He also had it approved in 2020, but due to financial reasons, he wasn't able to put it up.
So you say approved, did this council approve the PUD?
Yes.
It was a PUD then?
Yes.
And so was there a time lag or something?
He didn't put anything on the grounds, so therefore every year he has to come back before because he didn't build.
Because he ran out of time on his approval.
And I purchased.
Is that what it is?
Yes, that's it. Mr. President?
Mr. Penn?
I had an opportunity to have a community meeting, something that they never had before regarding this property, from my understanding. We had it, this property was improved in the Planning Commission in 2016 and 2020. It wasn't any appeals at that time, but I feel that anytime development comes in the community needs the opportunity to meet with that developer. And so when it came back this year for 2022, I wanted to make sure that the developer and the community had an opportunity to meet with each other. With that being said, they did talk. Some things was addressed. Of course, one of the fence items were added to the Planning Commission. We know that in District 1 and other communities, we need new development. We have a lot of, one of the redistricting, a lot of problems with, the pastors was coming down talking about that we're not developing the area. We're not bringing housing back in that community for people to live in that particular community that they grew up in. So I commend Ms. Isaac for doing that. But I also understand the concerns of that community because I'm from that community. That old property, it was some challenges. I used to walk past that as a kid, and there was a lot of activity that went on in that community that wasn't good. I do believe that Ms. Isaac is not trying to bring that type of activity in our community, but I do understand the concerns of my citizens and residents because my grandmother lived right down the street in front of the property, and my aunt as well. With that being said, I would like to hold this over for 2 weeks for the council to look at the things that were brought to our attention. I will not be here next week because of a trip, but I want to hold it over for 2 weeks to make sure that all the regulations and rules and laws was followed. That's what we would be voting on. That's what we would be voting on. Not more, the property was already zoned for that purchase, but we will be voting on making sure that the Planning Commission, so I'm asking to pass a motion to hold it over for 2 weeks.
Anything else you'd like to state? Just give us your name and your address.
Alexia Ringo, 3357 Brooklyn Way West, Selma,
Speak a
Alabama.
little bit more closer to the mic, please.
Alexia Ringo, 3357 Brooklyn Way West, Selma, Alabama, 36575. This is my mom who's over the property. I was with my mom at the meeting when she heard everybody's concerns, and she made sure that the things that she could do, she was actually putting into motion. When they addressed they wanted a fence, she made sure that she added that to the plan. My grandmother stays right behind the lot that my mom purchased. So my mom is not putting anybody in harm's way or anything like that. My auntie, which is my mom's sister, has a restaurant, Kiss the Cook, which is literally 2 feet away from the lot. So my mom is actually trying to bring something to the community and pair with my auntie, and they're making like a big impact on the community, like in places where, how can I say this? In low income properties. Basically, she's not putting anything in this area that she knows is going to be bad, if that makes sense. Like, it's going to be a good thing. And I'm standing with her 10 toes.
More look like your sister than your mother, you know. All right, thank y'all.
Mr. President,
Mr. Penn.
Again, I want to commend both parties for coming down. I believe everybody want to get the same thing done. I think, and we'll be able to get that done, working together, because we do need development in the community. But I believe that we want to make sure we're following all the guidelines. So that's why I'm asking, so my colleagues have an opportunity to kind of look over everything, and then we'll hopefully it'll be supported that we can hold it over for 2 weeks and we can make a decision then.
Mr. Hart?
Yeah, I just need to point out that the PUD is site plan specific. So what they've approved, moving buildings around and things, you'd have to start the whole thing over again from scratch with the Planning Commission. And the time frame that was mentioned, PUDs are only good for a year. So if they didn't get started within that year, then you got to rehash it.
That's the reason why she had to get the approval. Yeah.
Ms. Pappas, do you have anything? Anything else from the council? Anything else from the appellant?
Yeah. I want to put a motion to hold it over for 2 weeks.
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Held over for 2 weeks.
Mr. Isaac, Llewellyn, you didn't want to speak.
Come on down, sir. Give your name and your address.
My name is Llewellyn Isaac, and I stay at 2206 Division Street in the same community. I've been, like I said, I've been coaching Little League football since 2000. And I'm in the community. You know, I have a lot of parents, you know, that I could have went to and gotten signatures saying they want to approve for the lot, for the building, you know, but I just said, why do it? I mean, because if they fighting this hard, you know, to stop something, I just wanted to know, you know, where's all the energy that we need to clear it up, to get it looking better than what it's looking. I mean, you would rather have nothing there with old tires and this and that, but when somebody's coming trying to do something positive, you fight tooth and nail to stop it. And I understand, but I don't understand. Because it's like, okay, I was at a red light like a month ago. 1 month. I'm on Catherine Street and Government. I'm at a red light. While I'm sitting at the red light, finna turn right on Government Street, left on Government Street, the guy pull up on the side of me. So he pulls on the side of me, I look, look back over. But he's still sitting there. He had free and clear, so I look again. When I look again, I know him. You know, I'm wondering if I knew the guy. So no, I didn't know him, so he's just staring. So I let my window down. I let my window down. The guy was up and out the car with a pistol. So I'm like, yo, whoa. You see what you're doing? You know you got to have the wrong guy with it, right? This is what I'm saying to myself. So he looked in the car. He says, oh, wrong guy. I was finna wet your ass up.
Hold your language.
I'm sorry. I was finna wet you up. So I said, thank you. Turn around, look. What? I said, thank you, man. He gets in his car and just pulls off like it's nonchalant. Nothing happened, man. I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything. You know, I'm like, wow, man, what's going on with these young kids around here these days, man? And I'm sitting like, I've coached over 300-400 kids and things like that. And by us trying to better a community, that's part of it, man. That's part of it. And I just don't understand how we can get all this fight back, man. I really don't. And it's no way possible for me to just sit and say, it's going to be bad when we build these structures over here or whatever. And it's just hard. I can't understand it, man. I don't know, man. It's hard, though.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Madam Clerk.
Public hearings. Today is a public hearing to rezone property located at 1451 Cedar Crescent Drive from R3 to R3 to remove conditions of the existing zoning amendment.
This is the public hearing for 1451. If anyone here present, you may do so by coming down to the podium stating your name and your address. If no one's present, this public hearing is closed.
Public hearing to rezone property located at the southwest corner of Ziegler Boulevard and North University Boulevard from R1 to B2.
This open up the public hearing for this said property. If anyone present, may do so by coming down to the podium by stating your name and your address.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I am Robert Cook. I live at 4104 Ridgelawn Drive. I'm here to speak on behalf of Custody LLC and Fikes Wholesale, who are the parent company and developers for Stefco convenience stores. Our request to the City Council today is to please consider the rezoning of 2.6 acres on the southwest corner of University and Ziegler Boulevard to a B2 zoning for the future use of a convenience store. On January 13th, we attended a community meeting where we addressed the citizens' and neighbors' concerns as much as possible. Most notably, the neighbors to our west, which is Emmanuel Baptist Church, and Pastor Rocky Pugh attended the meeting and since then have blessed our project. We've had multiple conversations and meetings since the 13th with Pastor Pugh concerning noise, lighting, dumpster placement, and the wall that would separate the two properties. Obviously, with the change in zoning, we would have to have a wall. It generally has to be a privacy fence. And the developers have agreed to build a masonry or a plaster wall to help address the noise concerns. They have also agreed to use directional LED lighting, move the location of the dumpster with Pastor Pugh's input. Obviously, that is site plan dependent with city officials, but we have agreed to let him, help us with that placement and continue to get their input as neighbors. Pastor Pugh is not here today, but he has sent emails to myself and Councilwoman Gregory in support of the project. He has also submitted multiple letters to the city website through the portal. January 20th, we received Planning Commission approval for this rezone, and our application was also recommended for approval by the city planning staff. The developer is willing to proceed with the guidelines and limitations that were laid forth by the Planning Commission and the city engineers, including but not limited to one curb cut on each main road. The future use land map as outlined by the UDC has identified this property for future mixed commercial use. By approving the B2 zoning, the property would be in compatibility with the zoning plans laid out for the future growth of our city. While there are a few concerns with increased traffic, I would like to point out that convenience stores are intended to capture the traffic that is already in place, not increase traffic like a retail center or other uses. With the developer agreeing to only 2 curb cuts, it also highly decreases the chance that this development would become a cut-through from Ziegler University or vice versa. Appreciate your consideration regarding this matter. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Anything from the council? Ms. Gregory?
Just appreciate you coming down and working with Pastor Pugh and members of the church, as well as the considerations that you have made so far, and listening to the concerns of the neighbors.
Thank
you. Mr. President?
Yes.
Citizen Liz Levins at 871 Imperial Drive is unable to attend the meeting due to health reasons and asked that we read a letter. Email. Did she email?
She was emailed. I don't know if it's different or not. But
okay.
Good.
Just you want the email? Just read the email.
Well, is that the letter that she wants read, or?
Yes, it's the email that she sent on March the 7th, Monday, March 7th.
You want to read it to the minute, correct?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon. This letter is from Elizabeth Levins, and the residential area that I reside in is coming up for public hearing tomorrow morning. However, I will not be able to attend due to COVID. My husband is a liver transplant patient and is immune suppressed and highly susceptible to this disease. I have attached a statement concerning my opposition to this rezoning of our residential area to business. We will not be able to attend because of health reasons. I attended both meetings of the Planning Commission virtually on this issue. After we were notified of the request, I sent a letter by email in opposition to the rezoning to the Mobile Planning Commission. I learned that day that I was not the only one who was in opposition that wrote in to the MPC, the Emmanuel Baptist Church, and the president of the Alpine Hills Homeowners Association also. However, my name was not mentioned as part of the record. A female administrator, probably the one that I conversed with, reminded him that there is a third letter of opposition. He then stated over his shoulder while doing something else, saying, "Oh yeah, the citizen." The meeting continued with the company's representatives as the only speaker at the meeting. When the president initially attempted to set up the second meeting, he originally said January 13, 2022, but he stated a moment later that he couldn't that day because of another meeting. I thought he was talking about the MPC. The next meeting on this matter was scheduled January 20th. All of this occurred on December the 15th. This is my first time attending a Planning Commission meeting. I connected all the dots from this meeting about the meeting he referenced that was to be held on the 13th when he received a letter from the councilperson Gregory on January 7th announcing a meeting on January 13th at the Museum of Art. This was about a month later after the initial meeting on December 15th. At this meeting, the Mobile residents involved in the zoning change met with a representative of STEFCO to discuss the situation in opposition to the change of the people present. I wrote Representative Gregory by email and informed her that I was truly disappointed that this was not a virtual free conference call or a Zoom meeting set up because of COVID. I told her we wouldn't be able to attend as it was too dangerous for us personally. I do not know if the email was sent or email I sent was read or not. I asked her if the Planning Commission forwarded my email to them because I had everybody on the City Council listed. As I said, this is the first time being involved with the MPC. On January 20th, the second meeting of the MPC, we learned that at that meeting that the church withdrew its opposition for an 8-foot wall that would be built between them. I thought that was odd that the church was not concerned about the noise and lights from the station when they had night services or programs. In addition, nothing else was ever said about Alpine Hills president or the Homeowners Association. I contacted a couple of people that I knew in the Alpine Hills, asked them for their contact information. However, they did not know him. They asked around and they did not, we asked around, they did not know either. It was ghostly, a phantom-like situation. I wanted to talk and join forces, but that never happened. I thought possibly that this person was a member of the church and was adding credence to their plight as president. Also, my concern with the church is that they accepted this gratuity and their stock in this area is different from that of property owners. The church property is shared by the entire church. The value is not a problem for them. However, our property value is affected, and it appears that was really the only entity that was cared about. The church is tax exempt. The president of the association might be a member of the church and might have been trying to add strength to the church's position. However, I was not able to converse with that person at all. I do not know who will be present or who will want to speak. Therefore, if there is no one to speak, please allow someone to speak for me by reading my remarks. I've been very disillusioned by the way that this has transpired. As I told the commission in that communication, this discussion just didn't happen overnight. The fair thing would have been to start informing the people affected by the zone change request right away. I just feel that the discussions and the request did not start right before the Christmas holidays in the height of the Omicron variant of COVID. Thank you for your consideration of this request. I really appreciate it.
Anyone else present for this particular public hearing? If not, this public hearing is closed.
Public hearing to declare the structures at 256 Clay Street, 1162 Congress Street, 106 Michael Donald Avenue, 67 St. Michael Street. Public nuisances in order and them demolished.
If anyone present that would like to address the council on the said properties, you may do so by coming to the podium by stating your name and your address. If not, the public hearings are closed.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Nigel Hill.
Is Ms. Hill present? Oh.
Good evening. I'm a little nervous. Never been in surrounded by so many important people. But I'm here today because
Could you state your name and your address for me?
my name is Nigel Hill. My address is 604 McDonough Street. On Labor Day, my 16-year-old Chavez Scruggs was murdered and robbed and left in the middle of the street on the side of the police station. On the side of the police station. My son was a fine young man. He played football, basketball, ran track. He had lost on his tennis shoes, and he went back to pick the tennis shoes up. And on the way home, some 15-year-old pulled up to him and tried to take the shoes. He attempted to run, and he was shot in the back, and it came through his heart. It was on the side of the police station in Somerville. I would never understand why this happened to my son, because he was a child. He wore his pants up, he held his head high, and he did the things that we were raised up on, playing games, basketball, trampoline. Since then, I have went on that street. I'm here today asking that Allison Street, where my son was found, and this is him, Javan, that I'm asking that their name be changed honorary to his name. 604 is where I lived before my son was murdered. In burying my son, I lost my home. And like 2 months later, I went into foreclosure because I didn't have insurance. I never thought about my child being murdered. So I have went on that street, and I have had each resident on that street to sign saying that they do agree with the petition to have the street name and honorary of him. I also had the principal of LaFleur High School. They honor my son. He was a funny, silly child. And I'm asking, what do I do? Who can help me? I have been communicating with Mr. Penn, and I just don't know where to start. He did tell me that he did want to do something for him. I just want to know, what do I need to do? Who can help me in regards to getting that name changed?
Yes. Ms. Hill, first I'd like to extend my condolences on the loss of your son. And my heart does go out to you. You, Mr. Penn, that's District 1, he would have to lead the effort. And I believe that you have her name and her number.
Yeah, so thank you, Ms. Hill, from coming down. I received that petition, and we're in the process of looking into it. We also got some other things that we want to honor your son. Of course, being a graduate of LaFleur, I spent mentioning to you about offering a scholarship for athletes. We got some things that we're working with the school to make sure that happens. So we're in the process. We're going to keep you updated with that process as well. But I want to thank you so much. You're right. We have to do something for our community. Yeah, that young man deserved to be here. And one of the things that we're working on recently, we're going to be doing something at the Michael Figures Park, basketball, bringing young people in the community to be involved in activities. We're going to have that coming up. We're exposing kids to fishing. I'm sponsoring a program. So we want to do more for our young people and our youth. But I'm going to work with you. I got that information, and we're in the process. But I'm glad that you came down here to speak on your about the great things that your son has done, that you have told me, and I've been in talks. So I'm glad everybody else have that opportunity. But we are in the process of working and making sure that we keep your son's name and honor going forward. So thank you so much for coming out.
Okay. I also would like to address that it's very disturbing to me that a 15-year-old, our youth has no respect for human life. And it's very disturbing to me. In an event, I would like to have someone to come together with me to at least have some kind of support for mothers, because we're losing our youth every day. And it's mothers like me. I would like to establish some kind of program for mothers that have lost their children. We're not supposed to bury our children. Our children are supposed to bury us. And I just want to know if it's something, is it some kind of program that we can start? I would like it to be named Involved, to where we can address kids that need someone to talk to. We need to do something where it's not being not cool if you tell someone what's going on, because the communication between parents and children is off. And I just want to know, is it something? Can y'all help me? Can we start a program for mothers in the same predicament as me?
Director Batiste, can you, I think? Okay.
Yes, Ms. Hill.
I'm
yeah.
hurt, and I had 42 hours to come up with $12,000, and we're burying our children. I didn't have that kind of money. I lost my home, and I have 5 other kids. And I'm not asking for a handout, but what I am asking, that you all help me to change this name. Not only is it peace for me, but I also feel like it's awareness, because my son was a good child. He wasn't out here doing what the average teenager is out here doing now, but he was a fine young man. And his birthday is March the 19th, and I would like to have permission to do something where he was found in the street on that day. Do I go before you all for that?
Yes, Ms. Hill. Our public safety director, Batiste,
Okay.
they have several programs within the
Okay.
police department, and he can answer several of your questions and everything, but he was taught you right after.
Okay. All right, and I thank y'all. I just stand in the gap for my son today, and I appreciate you all for hearing me. Y'all be blessed.
Thank you, Ms. Hill.
And also, Ms. Hill, we also have the president of Faith in Action right here, too. I know you're about to speak shortly, but if you want to give your contact information to Ms. Hill, that'd be great. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Elizabeth Chipperlish, I'm sorry, regarding urban camping.
And just a reminder that this particular ordinance, 39-003, regarding the urban camping and proper use of public places, that will be tabled at this meeting.
Good morning, council and staff. I'm Elizabeth Chipperlich. My address here in Mobile is at 1860 Government Street. And I want to ask, what will be the results of this proposed urban ordinance? I think it's going to be counterproductive. The intention of ordinances, I believe, are to help the public as a whole. I submit that this ordinance will have a significant negative effect on your public, both your housed public and your homeless public. This ordinance will, first, increase crime, I believe. Desperate people do desperate things. When you evict a person from their home, despair sets in. Top that despair with overwhelming despair with mental illness, living outdoors in Mobile's searing heat, and maybe addiction. This ordinance will push already suffering people over the edge. And I need to tell you again, the numbers that say there are 700 to 800 homeless people in Mobile are greatly inaccurate. Don't forget the Mobile school system has 3,000 homeless students. Secondly, this ordinance will continue to heighten the fear and resentment of the homeless, which towards you, their representatives, and they are voting and tax-paying citizens, and resentment towards the law enforcement agencies. Do we really want to have a significant incident to occur wherein more negative light is shed on Alabama and on Mobile? Thirdly, if passed, this ordinance will result in protracted litigation. The internationally renowned Southern Poverty Law Center and other legal experts concur that the issue of evicting homeless people from publicly owned property is unconstitutional. The U.S. Supreme Court has refused to hear numerous appeals from municipalities who have lost their bid to evict the homeless from public property. Banning citizens from public property has been well played out in the courts of our land, with homeless communities overwhelmingly prevailing. If passed, this ordinance will be litigated, hence shining more national attention on Mobile and identifying our city as just another Alabama city that's discriminating against the poor. Additionally, this ordinance will burden the taxpayers with enormous legal fees in hundreds of thousands of dollars, not only in state courts, federal courts. Would not our public dollars be spent more wisely by adding facilities?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And just a reminder, I ask if anyone has any type of electronic device, please at this time put on the off or the vibrate position. The off or the vibrate position. It is rude to hear electronic device to go on while someone is speaking. Also, just a reminder that the ordinance is going to be tabled. And table means that it's going to be off the agenda. As soon as we get to that particular ordinance, it's going to be off the council agenda. We would not vote for it or against it. We're going to vote to table it. Okay? Madam Clerk.
Susan Camo, and following Susan is Hank Cadell.
My name is Susan Como. I reside in Mobile at 256 Roper Street. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak out on behalf of our homeless brothers and sisters. I understand what you just said, but I would like to be heard. I'd like to discuss my relationship with a woman I will call Anne. Anne is a woman who lived on the streets of Mobile for 13 years. Due to her mental illness, she could not account for time and did not recognize her son, who repeatedly tried to reconnect with her over the years. She and I became acquainted through daily mass at the Cathedral Basilica, and then one day sitting in Cathedral Square, I told her I felt God was bringing us together to become friends. Anne was in the square every day. Her bag was so heavy, and she often said she wished she could leave it someplace safe, like in a locker where she could access it as needed. Sometimes I would find her sitting on a bench, leaning on her bag and napping. She was so sleep deprived from spending countless nights sleeping with one eye open. Could any of us function like that? Anne would never tell me where she went at night, but I always believed some kind souls were helping her out. Anne was a professional nurse at one time, but mental illness, divorce, and severe trauma sent her seeking shelter elsewhere. She was at McKemmy Place initially, but that is only temporary, and Anne found herself out on her own for the next several years. Our friendship led me to find her son, and last summer she was reunited with her family. How many more Annes are there living among us? They are from vast experiences and circumstances, and they are our neighbors who desperately need our help and inclusion rather than exclusion. The proposed ordinance would impose an impossible fine on a homeless person for sleeping or camping on city property. Would my friend have been fined for napping on the bench? Inability to pay the fine, because really what homeless person has $500, would potentially put that person in jail, giving them a criminal record, which would further prevent them from climbing out of this wretched hole of homelessness and poverty, making it harder to gain employment and find a home for themselves. There is no single answer to this many-faceted problem, but this ordinance will only create further division and hopelessness for these members of our community. Remember, and if I may quote our Lord, amen, I say to you, whatever you did for one of these least brothers of mine, you did for me. Thank you.
Hank Cadell, regarding urban camping. Following Hank is Robert Clopton, regarding.
Good morning. I'm Hank Cadell. I practice law at 1911 Government Street. I have previously written to the council about 4 weeks ago with a letter and some information regarding our work for the homeless. I've been for 4 years on the board of Loaves and Fish, which does the art soup event each year. I have was on the founding board of Family Promise, which provides services for homeless families in church facilities. And for 37 years, I've been on the board of Franklin Health Center Clinic. I was only 10 years old when I joined that board, though. You're supposed to laugh. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, we have provided you a study of an in-depth study done by the University of South Alabama on homeless and services following the demise of the one-stop center 15 place 5 years ago. And we have input from many stakeholders and many folk that have been involved. And I've been involved for decades in this issue. And we don't have all the answers, but this camping ordinance is not one of the answers. Please, I'm asking, and we're very optimistic that the council is pivoting to address homelessness in Mobile, like many cities across the country, in some sort of way. And part of the input that we got from stakeholders on page 14 of our report is these were folks that provide housing and places for the homeless. It was this: if the city would put some skin in the game, we could see change. The city tries to push them out of downtown instead of trying to help them. The homeless problem is not going anywhere. If we do not do something about it, we will start to see problems we have never seen before. Now, if you've seen excessive camping and litter out somewhere, maybe this is a symptom of the fact that the day center that provided so many essential services went deep six 5 years ago, and no one stepped in. Loaves and Fish organized an effort to replace some essential services. I'll point out one thing. Where can a homeless person receive their mail? Where can they get their doctor's appointments or their prescriptions and things from the doc? Used to be 15th place. Now, nowhere. Franklin Clinic has reported a 4-fold increase in crisis calls. We used to have appointments for the homeless to come in. Now, 4-fold increase. How can that be acceptable? The city needs to step in. There's a wonderful program now being proposed and put together by Dale and Reba Pfeiffer.
So sorry. You have reached your 3 minutes, but thank you so much for coming down and addressing us. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Robert Clopton regarding the urban camping ordinance, and following Robert Clopton is Tony Allgood.
Good morning, Council, Administration. I'm Robert Clopton, 2612 Charlotte Oaks Drive, Mobile, Alabama, 36695. Mayor, on behalf of the position of the NAACP, I did not say NAACP. I did not say National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, because that is not who we are. We are the NAACP. When we look at urban camping or trying to survive homeless in an urban area, it goes against the mission of the NAACP. Our mission is to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights of all people, regardless of the socioeconomic status, creed, color, religion, or orientation. When the whole world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful. Malaya, Joseph. Fight poverty, not the poor. No person should be homeless in Mobile. If we have the public structure or infrastructure and the public policies that allow people to have homes, affordable homes, food, and to live a dignified life, if those structures were in place, we wouldn't have the homelessness that we have. But however, we do. So therefore, quick fix. Let's arrest them and apply urban camping fines that are impossible to pay. No person would be homeless if we had those structures in place. The 4 main reasons of homelessness are what? Have we did the study? What are the 4 reasons? The 4 core reasons of homelessness are: 1, lack of affordable homes. And we have did everything in Mobile to eliminate, destroy, decimate, and eliminate those. And we did a great job, apparently. And number 2 is unemployment. Number 3 is poverty. And number 4, low wages. And they fall in that order. Again, let's fight poverty, not the poor. I want to thank you all for what you do. However, this is an issue that violates the human rights of human beings. So please, in your consideration, my statements as presented. Thank you.
Tony Allgood. Following Tony Allgood is Sabrina Mask regarding urban camping.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Tony Allgood. I reside at 214A, DeSales Avenue, 36607 here in Mobile. I am the pastor at the United Methodist Inner-City Mission. I'm on one of the tri-chairs of the Alabama Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. And I'm the Southeast coordinator for the National Union for the Homeless. Thank you for letting me speak today. What I'm going to do is to address a little bit more of the root of the problem. Poor people are blamed for their own poverty. Now let's just face it, most people believe that. But this country was built on creating poverty and discrimination. Look at the Native Americans. And that poverty that they live in now still exists today. Look at slavery. Even after slavery, you had Jim Crow laws where wealth was continued to be created on the backs of the poor in prison labor. And this affected poor whites too. In the beginning, if you did not own property, you could not vote. If you were a woman, you could not vote. And of course, if you were a Native American, you could not vote. This economic system that we have cannot exist without creating poverty. If we're going to criminalize anybody, don't criminalize the poor. Criminalize those that keep them in poverty. Birmingham voted to increase the minimum wage to $10.11. Before the ink dried on the signature on that, the Alabama legislature voted to make it illegal for any municipality to raise the minimum wage. The minimum wage has not been raised since 2009. How much has our cost of living gone up since 2009? Groceries, gas, housing, utilities, etc. People don't choose to live in poverty. The other myth is that homeless choose to be homeless. I've worked with the homeless. Those with mental disorders aren't competent enough to choose whether or not they want to be homeless or not, but there are not enough services for them. The veterans that come back with post-traumatic stress disorders, they don't choose to be homeless. They can't exist in a shelter, though. That's like putting them in a barrack. It brings back all those emotions and all. 750,000 people die each year in this country from poverty-related causes. They don't have medical care or other services that they need like everyone else. You can check the facts on that. 750,000 people. You know, it's not enough to be loud. You got to be right, too, when you speak. And these have been researched. This ordinance is morally indefensible, biblical heresy, and constitutionally questionable. And really what it all bounds down to is if we're going to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. When people suffer a disaster, whether natural or man-made, are we going to help our brothers and sisters put them back in the status they were? Or are we going to put money first? Thank you.
Following Sabrina Mass is Lori Bone.
Good morning. Saying good morning to the mayor and staff, city council representatives, and Ms. Lambert and the city clerk staff. So I come in peace, of course. So I would say this, you know, the homeless, I'm sorry, Sabrina Mass. I think everybody knows me. Sabrina Mass, 1050 Belvedere Circle West. Thank you. The ordinance is a little bland. That's my opinion. I will say this, though, before I get started. I do believe the city council is taking this very serious. If not, they would not be tabling this situation. So I would say that. So I think the problem is maybe the city council needs to have more communication with the citizens and their ideas. We have some great citizens out here that have great ideas, and I would also like to chime in, like Mr. Goddard said on Mr. Fife. If Mr. Fife is, can he be allowed to stand? Mr. Fife? Mr. Fife, he's a silent type man. He's moved to Mobile from another state. He's highly intellectual, and I appreciate Mr. Fife. He honored me in showing his homeless project, the layout, the plan, and it's phenomenal. I'm saying his plan is phenomenal. I would say, please, City Council, get with him to look at his project and his plan, or any other citizen that may have solutions. You know, I look at it this way, you know, me personally, I'm a blessed woman. I have never faced homelessness. I have never faced poverty. I've never went a day hungry. But I tell you what, I have compassion for all. And being that doesn't mean I don't go out here daily or when I can to help homeless people, feed them in my community, in our community. We have to stop being so comfortable and look at what we're blessed with and think about others. You know, there is a homeless problem that has to have a resolution, Councilman. I totally agree with that. But I don't think we can just put laws against them to hurt them. We have to find resolutions. So if you guys could just get with the citizens and see what their input is, their ideas, and maybe we can go for it. Because, again, I am for the peace and the unity of the city. I hate when we bicker, when we go at each other. that I promise you, that tears me apart because I live in this city. I love this city. I love the representatives. I love everybody out here. And that's why sometimes I speak on things and sometimes I just shut up. But I don't like to see us bickering and arguing and hurting each other. Words hurt. So we could just find a solution, come together, work together, then the city of Mobile will get even better than it is now. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Lori Bone.
Only one person is allowed to speak. Yep.
My name is Lori Bone. I reside at 2889 Solly Road, apartment 703, Mobile, 36695. Like I said, my name is Lori Bone. I'm an independent homeless advocate. Do appreciate the opportunity to speak and you guys listen to me. In the past 3 years, I don't work for an organization, a church, any specific ministry. I just work for Jesus Christ. And I think it's time that we come and bring this and bring up the heart of the whole matter here. In reality, we're all homeless, right? This is not our final destination. We're going to either go in one or two places, heaven or hell. And God has called us to do something for our community, and that is to give hope, restore hope to our community. Those people have hearts just like you and I do. They're broken. Mr. Hooper here is currently homeless. He's living with me. I'm a single mom. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment with my 17-year-old daughter. I'm his legal power of attorney and guardian. He's the second homeless man that I have made, that I'm guardianship over. They both have mental illness. They are unable to make decisions for themselves. Filing for the resources that they need, that is completely overwhelming to them. They don't even know where to begin to look, to seek out help. Both of these men that I have custody of, guardianship over, they've worked for many years, paid taxes, just like you and I do. But now they're mentally ill, and they just need someone to help them. Mr. Hooper here has been with me for 33 days. He is now 33 days sober and clean. We've been seeing doctors every week. This is coming out of my pocket. I don't mind because that's what God has called me to do. Like I said, I want to bring this back to the heart of the matter, and that is what's in our heart. What's in your heart? What's in my heart? Where does your heart lie? Where is your heart? Because like you and I, we all carry baggage. Most homeless people, you see them walking around with a garbage bag. Everything they own is in a bag. Mr. Hooper, would you open that and show me? You've heard the saying, home is where the heart is. If you have no love in your heart for those that are hurting and those that are in need, those that are desperately dying on our streets, if you don't have love in your heart for that and step forward, my only question is, who really is homeless here? You or them? I appreciate the opportunity to speak. God bless you
all. The next speakers are regarding redistricting. Reverend Marvin Liu. Following Reverend Liu is Reverend Flowers.
Good afternoon, administration. Good afternoon, staff. And of course, good afternoon to Brother Councilman President and the rest of the council. Before I begin, it feels better to be a little closer to you all today. Feels like I've got a built-in amen corner that I've been missing for the last few months. I've come this afternoon now.
Sorry, Rev, your name and your address.
Okay, yes, sir. Okay. I'm Marvin Charles Jr., pastor of Stewart Memorial CME Church, address 1266 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, 36603. Few months ago, I talked about the heart transplant that was needed in our city and in our state. But it made me think about my near-death experiences in the years of 2020 and 2021. I went into the hospital for one thing to find out I had a whole nother thing going on. And when I think about that, I think about how we are dealing with this redistricting issue week after week, day after day, month after month, but there are still bullets being flown in our city. I look at this redistricting issue of how we're trying to bring this section and this section into making sure that all of us are equally represented at this table in positions of power and authority, but I still see bullets crossing lines. I look at this opportunity for us for the redistricting and possible other expansion in our city. But until we make serious efforts to address the issues of gun violence in our city, where no matter where we draw the lines, the bullets will continue to follow. I am appreciative of Public Safety Director Batiste. I am appreciative of Chief of Staff Barber. I am appreciative of Mayor Stimson. I'm appreciative of Councilman Carroll, Councilman Jones, Councilman Gregory, Councilman Penn, Councilman Ben, and my brother Councilman President Smalls for your attention and passion towards this issue. But I've come by to say today, while we're finishing drawing the lines, let's put the ink on the table. Let's make the I's dot. Let's make the T's cross so that we can have an active, community-based, fact-driven program that includes all of us to address this issue. Not just to address it, but attack it. Not just to attack it, but to eradicate it. And not just to eradicate it, to make sure Mobile is the safest city this side of glory. I am convinced that if we all think about how valuable life is, we will end the day saying, stop now, live now, we want to live. It makes no sense to draw up new districts and not address old problems. To you all, I thank you, I thank you, I thank you, and I shall return.
Following Reverend Flowers is Trevor Woolridge.
Good morning. My name is Jim Flowers. I'm the rector of All Saints Episcopal Church at 151 South Ann Street in Mobile, 36604. Mr. President, I very much appreciate the opportunity to speak again regarding the redistricting process. I sincerely hope I'm not wearing out my welcome and not trying to make a long day longer. But this is a very important issue to me, and more especially for the Midtown Church that I serve. This past Sunday was the 57th anniversary of Bloody Sunday in Selma, Alabama. In 1965, Selma was majority black, but registered voters there were 99% white. John Lewis and others were beaten within an inch of their lives just because they wanted to register black citizens to vote, a right guaranteed by the Constitution. That was the Old South, a sordid episode of our history. And make no mistake, we too, in this room, are on the edge of making history. We just need to be on the right side of it. I believe that the redistricting plan prepared and offered by the mayor was done in good faith. It allows for a black majority in 4 of the 7 districts, a majority based on eligible voters. That's good. It is a good faith proposal, but it's just not quite enough. The black majority, according to the census in District 7, is a very thin majority, just over 50%. According to voting rights experts, namely the Southern Poverty Law Center, the NAACP, and the ACLU, there needs to be enough of a majority to engender a strong probability for black voters electing the candidate of their choice, whether that be white, brown, or black. The council has been presented with an alternative map prepared by a diverse coalition of our community, which I believe is just and compliant with the spirit of the Voting Rights Act. The proposed new map is easily accomplishable. It moves a small number of white voters to District 1 from District 7, and thereby boosts the percentage of eligible black voters in District 7 to approximately 53%. This provides an additional and critical measure of critical mass for black voters in District 7, whereby their votes have appropriate weight. This proposal, I believe, honors the integrity of the plan already proposed by the mayor, and I believe this alternative would be satisfactory for all stakeholders in this process, including the voting rights experts. The last thing we want is a protracted lawsuit over this. Such a lawsuit would be costly, and a federal judge may well be disposed to a more radical alteration of the plan. We are so close, good people. Adopting a fair plan that empowers the black majority of our city will send a message to other cities and to potential business interests.
Reverend Flowers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me speak.
Trevor Woolridge. Following Trevor Woolridge is Michael Morrison.
Trevor Woolridge, 354 P.H. Lewis Place, Mobile, Alabama, 36603. Good afternoon, Mr. President and members of Mobile City Council. I return this afternoon on the all-important issue of redistricting, and permit me to remind us all of what an enormous responsibility and opportunity you have before you. The results of the most recent census confirms that a majority of the city of Mobile's population is black, and as a result, our black citizens should have the opportunity to choose representation that reflect them and their values here in Government Plaza. We know the obligations you have to make this happen through the drawing and approval of a new city council district map. But meeting the requirements of the Voting Rights Act and other federal regulations is not the only reason this is an enormous responsibility. It's an enormous responsibility because the map you adopt will dictate the future of the city for years, even decades to come. This process provides current leadership a great opportunity to ensure all citizens of the wonderful city fair and equitable representation. If done right, could set us on a path to true progress for our city, a path where progress is seen across the city, not just to benefit a few. Redistricting is a sacred process where district lines are redrawn to determine which voters choose which representatives. Redistricting is not a process where representatives should be choosing their voters. All of us must be reminded emphatically this process is not about one city council member, but in fact is about fairness, justice, and future. Today we saw, or there have been maps that have been submitted and have been spoken to about previous speakers. We ask for your consideration in that regard of those maps along with that which has been submitted by the mayor. 57 years ago yesterday, Americans made an attempt to walk across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama. Why are we still fighting for the equality and fair representation today after the Voting Rights Act was signed on August the 6th, 1965? Once again, the public discourse and this opportunity to speak in this process is appreciated. but we do know that the decision will be made as you meet. And so the question continues to raise for me. We hope we can trust you in the room. It is an enormous responsibility and opportunity. We hope and pray you are up to the challenge for the sake of our city. Thank you, Mr. President.
Michael Morrison, and following Michael Morrison is, oh, that's it on redistricting.
Is Mr. Morrison available? President. Mr. Michael Morrison. Okay. Madam Clerk.
Okay. No. Okay. Reggie Hill regarding.
Because redistricting is not on the agenda, I just want to make a couple of comments right here. I've been sitting up here going back and forth between the administration's map and the map the two maps that have been so graciously presented to us by the groups today. I know that by council right, I can add anything to the agenda for consideration for a vote up or down when it comes to redistricting, correct, Chris?
You can introduce a different ordinance if you want to, yeah. Or make an amendment to the existing.
I can, but the amendment would have to be accepted to include these maps for consideration, or there would have to be a separate ordinance for them.
Right.
With a little bit more vetting to qualify the lines in these maps, I may ask this council to use these maps as another consideration for the redistricting other than what was presented by the mayor at this time. So I just want you guys to think about that, because we also have a Administrative Services Committee meeting coming up, and we have two. We have one for the help me out here, I can't remember the word. Yeah, the polarization study, but we're also going to have one for the redistricting as assigned by the president of the council. So if I can vet these lines based on the census tracts that are given and the areas that we're talking about, then by the resolution that this council passed, saying that the public can have input into redistricting lines and maps and present maps that they see as fair to the public, then I may take the privilege, I should say, to add a separate ordinance to the agenda that represents an item or items that this public is asking.
Reggie Hill.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Citizens and stakeholders of Mobile, greetings. Excuse me, Reggie Hill, 1007 Center Street. I rise today to offer recommendations for legislative committees and fiscal spending within the city of Mobile, keeping with this morning's theme and efforts to set the tone. While I am a Cowboys fan, most all people in here are aware that the Rams somehow won the Super Bowl this year. Seeing that the NFL draft begins in Mobile, Alabama, I saw it absolutely fitting to use this analogy. Now, whether you're a reveler, non-denominational, or a truly God-fearing Christian like myself, we more than likely have heard about the story between Abraham and the ram, more commonly shared as the ram and the bush. The most unfortunate consequence of this story, nonetheless, is that we rarely discuss the anger that commenced amongst the people even after the miracle had been performed. This is what I witnessed amongst our reported city leaders. Finding means to escape the realities of what our citizens face once there is some policy-related caveat in place to kick the needs of our people down the road, whether through layovers, tabling, amending, or sending these items to a committee. Sadly, regardless of how we choose to dress it up, those who make decisions for Mobile, Alabama momentarily are just absolutely out of touch with the subpar quality of living being experienced community by community, especially in our older areas. those districts that might be east of I-65. What reason could be in place for such despair other than improper decision making? We have an agenda item today, 39-003, which has had broad committee discussion. Yet even with all the rhetoric shared, we have yet to allocate resources towards resolving the overarching problem in our city. Nor have we even formally assembled the organizations that we would specify as experts in the area. These are things that should be done, and these are things that should be urged by the executive body. Then we have 08202, 21204, and 21-220. Again, matters that have been widely discussed, designed to address public safety. These items total $829,901.07 for cameras, software, and a cyber specialist. Keep in mind, this is being resourced through ARP funding. Money that was designed for those most underserved residents of Mobile. But if we're honest, we know that these individuals will never even see a copper penny of this money. Because of some Rules Committee meeting months ago, I don't have the time to address you the way that we should. This has been minimized to 180 seconds. But I would just urge this body, because I will continue this talk as the weeks commence, that we start making decisions that are actually in the interest of the taxpayers, not for the kickbacks and notoriety and special recognition or ideological justification, but understanding that we're not going to improve the quality of life until we actually consider everybody, and everybody's at the table. It took Ms. Ms. Naja Hill coming down here today for something formally to be done in that matter, and we're concerned about public safety at the state of it. Thanks for yielding the floor.
Ordinance is held over. 39003, ordinance regarding urban camping and improper use of public places.
Mr. President.
Mr. Reynolds.
I'd like to make some comments on this. I don't know if it's proper. This is, I guess, a parliamentary inquiry here.
Let's bring it to discussion.
We want to bring it to discussion. That's what I was going to ask. So moved.
Properly moved in second in the discussion.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I've spent a lot of time looking into this issue of camping on our rights of ways, and it's a real issue that exists. And if we're honest with ourselves, we see it. And I did my very best last week in the Public Safety Committee meeting to illustrate the problem, not only to this council, but the people at large that aren't in my district and have to live with it day after day after day. Throughout this discussion and this being introduced, there's a lot of facts that have come to light and showed some shortcomings of the city, the state, all the various nonprofits. The shortcomings at all levels of this. And until we resolve some of these things, we're never going to find a solution to the problems that I illustrated. The problems that I illustrated in a way to try to find a resolution. And that is not with all the homeless people that exist in our city, but a very narrow category that are camping and improperly using our public property and right of way. And then we've had discussions about where are these folks going to go? What is the bed capacity? Who are all the various people that are out there to help? What is our current mental illness status? How do we treat those with mental illness? Questions that are left unanswered. I put this ordinance forward in a way to address the litter, the public health, public safety, and aesthetics concern that exists throughout my district. And as we table this today, there is still no resolution to that. And I don't intend to stop trying to find a solution to that very problem. Just to illustrate some of the hardships that we face as a city, just last Friday, there was a gentleman who set up a camp in Tillman's Corner. And I said, you know what, I'm going to call and see if there's a bed available for this gentleman. And I reached out to Waterfront Rescue Mission. I said, hey, do y'all have bed space for this gentleman? And they said, yes. Tell him to come here at 4:00 p.m. We've got a spot for him to be. I didn't share that with that gentleman, but NBC 15 called me yesterday and said, hey, we want to do an interview before we have this discussion about your ordinance. I said, sure, well, meet me behind Lowe's in Tillman's Corner. We'll do the interview there so we can illustrate the problem to everyone. As I was there waiting for them in the parking lot, a young lady walks out of this encampment that goes across public and private property, and she walks across the property, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna talk to her. I went and talked to her, and I said, hey, did you know about McKimmey Place? McKimmey Place has vacancy, has openings right now, and you don't have to live on the right-of-way. You don't have to camp here in this campsite. And she was absolutely disinterested in trying to get off of the street, get out of her campsite. And that illustrates the problem for us. Without an ordinance like this in place, which I hope we'll bring up at some other time, after we are all ensured that there are beds available, this ordinance will help in that process and push people out of these areas that are not good for them. And I hope that we can arrive at a place once the answers to the questions that have been put forward, these are the ones that I can recall. Where do they go? Once they're pushed out of these areas, where do they go? Need a clear picture of that. What is the bed capacity of our city? Not city provided, but all the various organizations, what is the bed capacity? How many do we have available right now? And how many do we have day after day after day? I don't think anybody can answer that question if I say, how many beds are available for people right now? That has not been put forward. So it's a fair question. How many service providers are there? Are there 20? Are there 30? Are we only going to consider those within the continuum of care? Because there's many other providers that are out there. We need to know how many providers there are. And then what are we going to do about the mental health issue that exists out there? Are we going to wait on the state to reopen a facility or give us money to open a facility? Or is the city going to do something? Are the nonprofits going to do something? I know that the city is doing some things. But I think it makes sense until we get some more clarity on some of these things, and it has to be in conjunction with all the people that came down here to speak out against this, along with every other leader and organization that's out there, to paint a very clear picture so that we can all, with clear eyes and conscience, understand that an ordinance such as this is an ordinance that is necessary. So with that, Mr. President, I move to table.
Second.
Been moved to table and second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just,
Mr. Carroll.
Councilman Reynolds worked really hard on this. I don't think there was any spite or hatred or cause to do harm or cause any unintended consequence. But in hearing that, I asked one question last week, and that is what do we do with them when they're moved? But I want everybody to consider something. Last week, there was an ordinance to consider $30,000 for a program to consider building a $3 to $4 million facility for our pets, animals, stray dogs, things of that nature, so that we could take care of them, have spayed and neuter center, have health care for our animals, and all of those things. Now listen, a $30,000 study to consider the construction or program a building for our animals, which we need. But I think knowing that we have a $67 million surplus beyond what is necessarily required to hold in the city's coffers, that we should put some skin in the game, that we should provide an area in the city that can help support the homeless, that we should provide some type of encampment somewhere. If we can spend $30,000 on a program that is going to provide $3 to $4 million for our stray animals that need help, then I'm sure we can do something to support the people. This is the same thing that I keep talking about when I talk about affordable housing and redevelopment of lower MLK and the campgrounds. All this excess revenue over expenditures, but the people aren't feeling it. We need to help the people. I know we want to redo infrastructure. We want to do streets. We want to do the civic center. We want to do the convention center. But when do we start helping people?
Any other discussion, Mr. Jones?
First, I want to thank Councilman Reynolds for bringing this to light. There's been a lot of discussion. There's been a lot of action in the last month by the city administration, by volunteer organizations, et cetera, that's put a spotlight on this issue. What we realize is we have gaps that need to be filled. Tabling this, we cannot let this just lie and collect dust. We need to continue with the public safety meetings. We need to continue with the discussions. We need to continue with having the nonprofits come down and take an active part in moving this forward. We also need your help with the public reaching out to state lawmakers to get a facility like Cersei back. They're patting themselves on the back right now because they've put a couple of $1 million towards short-term mental health care in different cities. Mobile is one of those, but that's not going to fix this. We need a long-term mental health facility. Ben talks about bed space, but what we need really is a program of transition from bringing them in to getting them out and into assimilated into society. What we haven't heard here are those that have called Councilman Reynolds and called myself personally asking for help to alleviate the public safety issue of homeless people that are living in their backyards. They're living outside of their properties that are criminally active. Nobody's talked about that. It exists. I get those calls, and since this has started, I've gotten those calls every week, but not one person has come down here and grabbed the microphone and talked to us about that. And I've begged them to do that because y'all need to hear that just like I do. That exists. When they put vouchers to homeless and they move them into a facility near neighborhoods, the crime in the neighborhoods around that facility goes up. It's a fact. So we do need to address this. It is a public safety issue, and everybody in the city, as I've stated numerous times, is afforded the right to have that safety provided, which means we do need to continue to address this. Homelessness is a problem, but as Councilman Reynolds has alluded to, and I've seen it personally in Hawaii and San Diego and Seattle and Los Angeles, there's a large percentage of those folks who have no desire to go anywhere, but do what they want to do on their time. And there's a huge difference between somebody that's homeless and a dog. A dog has no choice. I was homeless at 18 by my choice. My parents told me to move out or meet conditions. I didn't want to meet those conditions. I put my stuff in a box and left. I had choices that I had to make at that point. I've helped homeless people, as I stated in the committee meeting. I took one in, put a roof over his head for 3 months, fed him, clothed him daily, helped with his alcohol addiction. 3 months later, he stole everything that I had and basically cost me my business. And that's okay. I could have pressed charges. He still walks the city streets today. I didn't do that. That's not every homeless person. That is a person, an individual who made his choice. And we've heard a lot of different choices that people have made that have come down here. At the end of the day, we have to help and make sure that we have processes in place. That's what the city has started to do, and we'll continue that. And that's my promise to my constituents is this is not going to stop just because we table this. We'll continue on. But it is a problem, and again, there's a lot of people that you haven't heard that deserve to have their voice heard as well, and that's what we're here for is representatives to our districts. So thank you to Councilman Reynolds, and I look forward to having these public safety meetings as we move forward to continue finding the right solutions. But, you know, at the end of the day, this ordinance has a place, but I've got to be convinced that we filled the gaps that currently exist before this ordinance is in place. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other discussion? All in favor to table it? Aye. Any opposed? 6-0. Items tabled.
Consent resolutions held over. 40-033, declare the structure at 456 Elmwood Drive a public nuisance and order it demolished.
Move to lay over for 1 week.
Second.
The properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Items laid over for 1 week.
Resolutions held over. I'll read all of these. I'll read 60-207 separate. 47-169, assent to the vacation of portions of Pearl Lyons Hospital and Basil Streets. 08200, approve item-based bid for Class 3 rain suits. 08201, approve purchase order for fuel at various locations. 08202, approve purchase order for annual renewal of forensic software. 21203, authorized contract with Kimberly Horn and Associates for traffic engineering services on Chillinger Road. 21204, authorized contract with Natalie Bonner as a cyber specialist. 6205, approved settlement agreement and release of claims.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
6207, determine an appropriation to the Friends of Municipal Park serves a public purpose and approve payment.
So moved.
Do we need to approve the one that was amended?
Going to.
Yeah, bring the discussion. Second, Ms. Gregory.
Okay, got you.
Yes, thank you. We do have an amendment to this contract that spells out exactly what the work will be, and it will be included when we approve this.
Any other?
I make a motion to amend to the version that's been filed with the clerk's office that has the updated contract attached.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Amended. Going back to original. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ordinances being introduced, 64010 through 88012.
By council rules, these ordinances will be laid over for 1 week.
Consent resolutions being introduced, 40208 through 37223.
Move to waive the rules for immediate consideration of these resolutions as announced.
Need a second.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk.
4208209, 210, 211 are declaring the structures at 256 Clay Street, 1162 Congress Street, 106 Michael Donald Avenue, 67 St. Michael's Street, public nuisances and ordering them demolished. 58212, assess cost for removal of weeds, Weedling Group 1615, 60, 213, 214, 215 are approving award of special bonus to parks and recreation employees, public works at large employee, and public services employees of the month. 6216, amend resolution 6953-2021 to determine certain expenditures serve a public purpose and approve payment. 37223, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a special events retail liquor license for Lit Cigar Lounge for Saturdays at the Coop.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes.
Resolutions being introduced, 01217 through 60221.
By council rules, these resolutions will be laid over for 1 week.
Call for public hearings, 41222. Call for public hearing to consider approval of a certificate of public convenience and necessity to July Enterprises doing business as Coastal Express Shuttle to operate a shuttle service scheduled March 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Public hearing is called.
Announcements.
All right, District 6, Councilman Scott Jones.
No announcements.
District 2, Councilman William Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. District 2 will be having another community meeting scheduled March 15th at the Plateau Community Center, otherwise known as the Hope Center. We'll discuss redistricting, blight, crime, neighborhood opportunities, how to get tax properties back on the tax rolls. Have also asked that we add to that agenda also would be the World Monument Fund discussion so that the members in the community actually have an idea and know what's going on with that. Also, we have scheduled 5 additional community meetings for redistricting. Those dates we will make public hopefully next week so that we can have them scheduled out so that there's not an immediate conflict with all the other district meetings that are going on at the same time throughout the city. I keep saying that the city has a surplus of $67 million. I understand that there are conversations that are going on now about how that money is to be spent or wants to be spent. But again, with a surplus of $67 million, and we continue to build infrastructure and things in the city, at some point we need to build infrastructure that the people feel and that the people benefit from. It's actually the people's tax dollars that we are spending. And when we have shortages in affordable housing, when we continue to demolish neighborhoods instead of revitalizing them, I think that we should spend some funds and times in neighborhoods that need our help also, you know, other than some of the other things that we've been doing for quite some time now. And I'm asking that we make plans to use some of that money in neighborhoods that truly need our help. Thank you.
District 4, Councilman Ben Reynolds.
Since Mr. Daves isn't here, Mr. President, we've been here long enough. No announcements.
What Mr. Davis had to do with that? District 1, Councilman Corey Penn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Excuse me. I do have some announcements. First, we had an amazing time this past Saturday in the Trenton Gardens community. We had our parade. I want to thank the administration, the public works, the police officers, fire department. They did, and the organizers, they did an amazing job just keeping everything. Everybody had a great time. We had so many people come out to the Trenton Garden community in District 1, and so it was an amazing opportunity for friends and families to fellowship. We had people from out of town that came in just for the Trenton Garden parade, and that's pretty amazing. So thank you, everybody that participated in that particular event. On tonight, we will have our community meeting at Ashland Church for the Midtown community. It starts at 6 p.m., so I'm inviting everyone out. Also, March the 14th, we will have the Mind, Body, Spirit Wellness Empowerment Expo. It will be held at the Michael Dow Amphitheater. It starts at 5 o'clock to 8 p.m. And then we also have, coming to District 1, we have a 3-on-3 basketball tournament that I'm part sponsoring at the Michael Figure Center, April the 27th. It's a free event. You can sign up to get more information. It's also in my email, but you can call the office. And then we also have for District 1 teenagers, if you're interested in fishing, getting on the boat, I'm sponsoring an event with Jason Caffey called Focus on dealing with fishing. So if you want to be a part of that, reach out to our office as well. I also want to thank the city staff for everything that they did and help with the Trenton Garden Parade, getting me prepared. I was ready to go. All I had to do is just walk on the float. So thank you so much for everything, and thank you, Mr. President.
And District 7, Vice President Gregory.
Thank you. It was an amazing Saturday. We had the annual Mobile Terrace Motorcade on Saturday, and it was terrific. Thank you so much to everyone who participated, from the clerk staff for making sure that the floats were ready, to the police escorts, to the pink fire truck and the captains who were there to drive, to our escorts on the float. They always take care of us. Yvonne Shavers, who has taken over for her mother, Joyce Shavers, to spearhead this motorcade, and to everyone in the neighborhood who came. It was a terrific event. Thank you so much to everyone who participated. It was a great ride. It was good to see so many people in the neighborhood come out and be a part of this. The Festival of Flowers kicks off this weekend. Thursday evening is a preview party, and then followed by Friday and Saturday sales. Hopefully the weather will cooperate so that everybody can come out and see this wonderful event. And some more flowers and shrubs to talk about with Plantasia. That is part of the Mobile Botanical Gardens. That starts on the 17th with a preview party if you want to get a head start. That will be Thursday evening the 17th, followed by 2 days of sales on Friday and Saturday. So come on out and get all of your flowers and shrubs and start planting for the spring. Thank you, Mr. President.
I move that this meeting lasts another 3 hours. I got a second. I will share my announcement with the district at my next meeting. Anything from the administration? All right. I get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
And properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?